Hey, hello. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. Come on in the room. We are here. It's Set It Up Sunday every Sunday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'm Renita Alexander, the Leadership Locksmith, and I am here. This is my weekly training that I do again every Sunday. The premise behind Set It Up Sunday is to help you set up your week. And we talk about different topics that are of concern for the group. This week we are focusing on our awareness. What I'm calling the topic of post-pandemic prep. So the key to being ready for this period that we're entering into, of course, is intentionality, and that's always the case when we're talking about success. So, the successful leaders, successful individuals aren't necessarily waiting for something to happen. We're not assuming. We are using what we know about ourselves, about the situations that we're encountering, about the environment, about the world, to be intentional about our plan. And that's what I really kind of wanted to talk about today, is sort of the intentionality around being ready for this post-pandemic world. So, because I know we're opening up in Chicago. I know some states, some cities have already been open for some time, but I got on the elevator in my building on Friday, and there was another person on the elevator that wasn't wearing her mask. And I'm thinking to myself, why is this person in a common area without a mask? But we had actually just removed the requirement to be masked in a common area. And so in restaurants in the city, people have the option of not wearing the mask if they've been fully vaccinated. Of course, I think we would be naive to assume that some of the people that are not wearing masks perhaps have not been vaccinated. So I'm making that assumption. I'm still putting on my mask for indoor. And of course, shopping, you still are required to wear a mask. But anyway, let's get to the topic at hand, because we only have about 15 minutes. My goal is to, do this relatively quickly on a Sunday evening as you are getting ready for whatever you do in the evening, maybe having a little wind down time on a Sunday evening. All right, so one of the things that we learned from Counselor Diane Kelly during Mental Health Month last month is that people are anxious about going back to work. And they are concerned about a number of things. Now, at the top of the list is the health issue. Some people are concerned that, not all people are wearing their masks the same way, that they, again, what I expressed about not being able to, are people not actually coming to work that after they have been vaccinated and not wearing the mask. And so I don't know what the requirements are with particular employers, if they are requiring people to have a vaccine before they come in, which of course is another source of anxiety if you are not sure about whether or not you want to have the vaccine. Again, that's not for me to judge. Everybody has to make that decision for him or herself, but that is a source of anxiety, being able to maintain employment if you don't wear a mask. If you don't want to get vaccinated, even if you are vaccinated, going into a workspace with people who may not be vaccinated and may not be wearing a mask. So again, those are kind of two different things, but in the same vein. So there's the whole fear, the anxiety around what's in the air. I was talking to an HR professional about this, and one of the things that she noted was there's a racial component that people are concerned about. And so Asian Americans have anxiety around returning to the office because they have, social fear about being targeted, and that's happened. We've seen a marked increase in crimes against Asian Americans since the pandemic. But it's not just Americans of Asian descent. Black Americans are also expressing concerns kind of from a different perspective. We've had a lot happen since we were all at work en masse, to include the murder of George Floyd and his subsequent the trial of his murderer, who was found guilty but has not been sentenced. And so there is, that swirling around, and then just, not having to deal with what we might call code switching, or not having to deal with micro aggressions in the workspace, which is something that most people of color, especially Black people, know something about. So there's some anxiety around that. And then there's just, the getting used to being around people, specifically if you are an introvert. And one of the things that we talked about when this first happened last year, when the quarantine started and we weren't able to be out, is, I would see memes and jokes about how people were coping. And one of the things that, was frequently commented on was the ability of people who are more introverted on the spectrum to be comfortable in this space where they were not interacting with a lot of people. And so those people may now have a little anxiety about coming back to a space where they've got to create, opportunities to engage with people that maybe new or maybe they haven't seen. Because one of the things that we have missed is that casual community, maybe work people that we've seen via Zoom, but we didn't have to have those casual conversations as we were passing by in the hall or in the water cooler, or, those kind of things. And so those casual conversations with our more casual communities may be something that's creating anxiety for those people who don't enjoy that as much as people who are more on the extroverted end of the spectrum enjoy. And then there's just the whole adjustment of lifestyle. I mean, it took us a minute to adjust working from home, but then we figured it out. And we figured out that there were some things we really liked about working from home. We just developed, schedules and routines. And so now, the idea of going back to work, you've got to start all over. You've got to, create a different a different routine. And then there's also this component of balance, because part of what we discovered is perhaps we had an opportunity to spend a little bit more time with family when we were working from home. So there's a whole lifestyle balance working thing that we are concerned about. So I just want to offer some, tips on from a personal perspective, but also if you are an employer, some things that you can do to help, your folks get ready to come back to work. So first of all, let me just say, this is not isolated, right? So a lot of people are feeling this kind of anxiety. So if you're one of them, again, you're not the only one. So it's okay. It's okay. You can acknowledge that you are feeling a little bit of stress. And it's okay to not feel 100% okay about not going back in. And so, if you feel yourself a little tense or overwhelmed, just acknowledge that. And then, maybe have a conversation with your employer about your options. One of the things, again, that we have learned is that there are some advantages to working at home. And maybe your job is one that can happen at your home, and you don't have to be in the workspace. So let's see, what else can we do? We can, be very slow, very leisurely about socializing with the people that, we haven't seen in person for a while. So specifically for those folks that are a little bit more on the introverted spectrum. And then I would just encourage you to focus on what it is that you like about being in the office setting. Again, I mentioned that whole casual community that we've sort of lost as a result of the pandemic. We were perhaps meeting with family and close friends and then having work meetings that were very deliberate, but not so much the casual conversations that I mentioned already. And so maybe those are things that you look forward to. Maybe having sharing meals with people that you enjoy socializing with, that are your office friends that you may not see outside of that. So that's one of the things that's that you can do is focusing on what it is that you are going to really enjoy about being in the workspace. Sort of focusing on the things that are going to make you feel happy, give you some joy, that are positive. And so the other piece that I wanted to touch on really briefly is, okay, so we've talked about the things that you can do as an employee. What about if you're an employer, if you are leading others? What are some things that you can do to sort of facilitate people feeling comfortable about coming back to the workspace? So just like it's important to acknowledge, personally, that you may be feeling anxiety about coming back, it's important as a leader to acknowledge that others may be feeling that level of anxiety. So even if you're not having the conversations, being open to having the conversations, and holding the space for people that are having some anxiety so that they can feel comfortable voicing their opinions, voicing what they need to make themselves more comfortable. And then just, making sure that they know, or they have thought about what it is that they need. And again, being available to have those conversations with them about what it is that they need. And because there's something about, we've had a shared experience here. We have all gone through something. Everybody's gone through it differently and experienced it differently. Everybody had a different situation. We didn't necessarily have the same experience, but we do have that commonality of having gone through this similar thing. And so there's going to be different relationships with your employees. Between you and your employees, or employees are going to have different relationships with each other, again, for all the reasons that I kind of touched on. And these are things that it's important just to be aware of, so that you can respond to whatever comes up. That is the sign of a successful, and agile leader. So let me see if there's anybody that has any questions or comments. So just say, hey, let me know that you're here with me live. And if you have any questions, I'll make a little room for that. If you have any additional suggestions, I've been having these conversations pretty much since April time frame about, how do we get ready for what is coming, and how do we make sure people are able to come back and feel as comfortable as they possibly can. But obviously, I don't know all there is to know. So if there's information that you have, suggestions, comments that you want to make, please take a minute and do that. And if you are, if you're not watching this live, if you get an opportunity to see this later, be sure and to comment when you do watch it. So I'm not seeing anybody with comments. Let me give it another minute or so. Vivian, thank you so much for joining us live. You're the only one I'm seeing. Okay, well, I am not seeing any questions or comments, so I'm going to make the assumption that there are none. And I am going to thank you so much for joining us if you are here live, and we wish you a very pleasant rest of your Sunday evening. Talk to you soon.